Well, after 7 fabulous races, I should say, of the Velocity ACER Malta GT3 Championship, we have arrived at our final destination. It is the world-famous Circuit of the Americas. The championship wrapped up, but there's still a little bit left to play in terms of the second place in the championship. We have arrived. Ignore the video there on the right-hand side. You look at the left-hand side, the 5.5 kilometer circuit with 20 turns and 41 meters of elevation amongst this incredible circuit, the Circuit of the Americas. My name is Adam Reed. I'll be alongside James Otter tonight as we venture towards that final round of Season 2 of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship.
Hey there, good evening everyone. Should be in for an absolute cracker of an event ahead of us. Of course, 20 corners here of potential racing and GT3 cars around here. There is actually a lot more opportunities for overtaking. The wide berth nature of this circuit should make an absolute cracker. In terms of the standings at the moment, it's pretty much all in fair warn, really, isn't it, at the moment, with the leader of this championship already decided. Ryan Karabot cannot be defeated now, so it's all about who's going to be finishing second and third in this championship, more or less, to be honest with you. Sean Cassar and Adrian Manduka separated by those 12 points after Manduka's absolutely appalling race last time out, of course, where he ended up getting that drive-through penalty and chose then after that not to continue the race.
Yeah, indeed. That was a little bit of a bitter blow for him, unfortunately, but he'll look to come back. He'll want to steal this championship off with a win, despite some really good consistency up until then. Yeah, that was kind of a very big blow to his chances. Sean Cassar has been mighty exceptional. Second has been the run from him. And we see Denzel Adjed on 113 points. Dominic Zimmerman in his Lamborghini Huracan Evo GT3. He has been absolutely fantastic this season. Just ahead there of the Ford Mustang GT3 of Nicholas Holmberg on 76 points. He's just 1 point ahead of Mark D'Agostino, who had a good result last time around with Daryl Martinelli, James Smith and Johan Borsch on 62 points, rounding out your top 10. So some fantastic work from those guys. They look to potentially round off the season on a high. Of course, the Ford Mustangs, that's kind of their home event for the third time. Third straight kind of week as well, so they'll be hoping for some good fortunes around here.
Yeah, Daryl Martinelli also finding a little bit of form as well in these last few rounds, of course, helped by the fact that Adrian Manduka decided to take no further part in the last race, of course, after his drive-through penalty. So, you know, opportunities for the midfield to potentially earn some points, to potentially climb up the standings just that little bit more before we round off this season. But who's going to finish as runner-up, though? Well, very much definitely all up for grabs. Adrian Manduka generally in form has been faster than Sean Cassar, but that 12-point difference could prove to be just that little bit too much for the Ferrari man.
Yeah, definitely. You know, on the form that he's going on, Sean Cassar could finish in third place. You know, it would make total sense given the kind of the rhythm he's been on. But again, I think Karabot will lift the gas up a little bit, but he will also want to continue on his really good streak of form. But yeah, I want to look into the kind of the middle, kind of the mid pack as well, because the Aston Martins have gone pretty decent in the latter stages of this championship, and they've you know, been running really well with James Smith and Johan Borg. I think you see that kind of middle pack with Martinelli has been doing really well. You know, he's really picked up from last season. So I think that for a lot of these drivers, you know, they're going to want to go out on a high, as I've continuously repeated. But I think they're also going to want to stamp an authority on next season. You know, I could definitely see another iteration of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship, and my goodness me, aren't you going to want to come back to come back to school as the latest winner of the series?
Yeah, this GT3 Championship's proved to be quite popular actually within the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. So, plenty of people have wanted to race here, plenty of opportunities for racing as well, though. So, at the end of the day, this championship has proven that there's definitely opportunities to become a champion. We haven't had, a clear sort of favourite up until this particular season. I think Karabot has been the one that's probably been the most consistent out of all of them. But the question is he going to come back fighting, or is he going to sort of lift his foot off the gas a little bit, assuming another little GT3 championship from ACER, and of course everyone here at Velocity Esports?
Yeah, indeed. I really do think that we're going to be in for a fantastic final round. A big thank you to Hyundai, Intercomp, Monsters Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and the Specialists. Don't go anywhere, because we're about to head into qualifying for the final round of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. Don't go anywhere. Well, welcome back to the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. We're here, the final round. It is the circuit of the Americas, the amazing 5.5 kilometer circuit. As I say, 20 corners, as I said. James Otto is going to be. Yeah, James, I think it's going to be a good one. What would you say we're going to be looking for in qualifying?
Well, qualifying really is where, you know, the majority of the drivers have got to get used to this circuit as well, because the fast-flowing set of S's in that first sector, which is inspired by Silverstone's, Baggots, Beckett's and Chapel, of course, is where we'd expect low grip, especially early on in this qualifying session. Track is optimum, though, at the moment, 24 degrees out on circuit, but they've just got to try and find the mojo, haven't they? That's what it's all about here. The next sort of 10 minutes or so, we're not going to be expecting the blisteringly quick lap times, but I think the final 6 or so minutes, I would expect that's where we start to see the proper pace come into play, as we're just following Adrian Manduca on his first tour around this circuit.
We are, and of course Adrian Manduca is somebody who's maybe looking for a little bit of redemption. It doesn't seem like we've got whatsoever, so that will be a very, very intriguing kind of scenario. Yeah, just having a look through kind of the entire standings. The highest, well, the only Ford Mustang is Nicholas Holmberg. Nick Iset in P2, the number 83 for the Lizard Racing Team. So Ryan Carabot seemingly decided to call it a day. He didn't need to do any more racing. You know, he gets to go off and enjoy whatever he does best. What is this? Close to, I believe, close to maybe 10 o'clock in Malta. So we'll have to see, you know, what these guys can achieve, especially with it. But there's still some quick drivers there. You see Adrian Manduca, you see Nick Ice, you see Denzel Agius, you know, you see Sean Cassard down there in P7. Dominic Zimmerman can definitely do something as well. We've got both Astons, two BMWs in the server as well. You know, Sean Cassard heads to the top. Now I wonder, I don't want to, I don't want to like curse things or whatever, but I have a really good feeling about this one, James Arthur, that this could genuinely be a big potential for Sean Cassard's first victory of the season.
Yeah, long lap around here as well, so a few opportunities to potentially earn time back if you do make a mistake, and that's sort of characteristic of Sean Cassard this season. He's not been the slowest person out. It looks like he's just going to dive straight into the pits now, is the Intercomp McLaren, but, you know, the situation for him is that he's just not been able to find his rhythm or his mojo around this circuit, but because of the length of this this lap here, if he does make a mistake, he might have ample opportunity to earn time elsewhere, so this could be one of the circuits that helps benefit the man currently top of the standings in this qualifying session, but of course plenty of lap time still to be made. As if you don't mind, I'm just going to go and do my final weekly visit, if you don't mind, to Gabriele Quattromani in P5, as ever the familiar 95 Rusty's Ferrari.
Yeah, always super to see that that car. You know, it's been absolutely amazing to see how those guys have how he's gone about. You know, it's been a little bit of a rough season for Gabriele Quattromani, as he's really seemingly struggling on the brakes there, seemingly maybe snatching at one of the front brakes. But yeah, of course that livery has been really, really good. I do hope we'll see Gabriele Quattromani in the season's 3 rendition of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. Maybe he can even get himself on maybe on a bit of Asphalt Kings, or maybe even another GT Cup that we have. But of course that is all coming in the next year or so. We're we are all currently putting our focus into the Velocity Esports Masters, which is going to be coming up, qualifying next week, starting at about 7 p.m. UK time. So yeah, but be prepared for that. But meanwhile, back to the GT3 world, and Quattromani will head over the line, and it's a 2:08.497, his best lap time so far. It puts him up into 6th, but he gets bettered, it seemed like, from a driver behind that I believe is Dominic Zimmerman. I'm not too sure. No, I think it was Denzel Agius.
Yeah, I think it was Denzel that managed to get in there and immediately dived into the pit lane, as well as Myla Furler goes up to P7 in the other McLaren as well. D'Agostino diving into the pit lane as well. Nick Ice down in P10, a little bit uncharacteristic alongside the man sharing the 5th row of the rolling start, and Adrian Manduca. He's also down the order in P9 as well, but not really a representative lap time from him. A 2:04.895 was his last tour around here. Perhaps just an extra, a little bit of a warm-up from him as he now chucks his car all the way down this back straight, where we're expecting, you know, a really good opportunity for some overtaking coming out of turn 11 down towards turn number 12. Of course, your next sector split is just about here, but the question on the lips of everyone around here is whether Adrian Manduca can continue in with this form now after what was a pretty poor race last time out in round number 7.
Yeah, he will look to try and work out what went wrong there, and I believe that's a kind of jump start, as we kind of concluded, was kind of I think maybe a little bit of pressure weighing on his shoulders. You know, you can definitely feel pressure in those scenarios. All he wanted was a good start, and he jumped the gun, got the penalty. So I think now that knowing that his biggest rival has A, wrapped up the championship, and B, is not here, he definitely had that kind of freedom to go out and just use this as maybe a competitive test session to go and maybe just kind of build on for next season. I'm sure behind the scenes he'll be doing plenty of practice to try and get on the pace of Ryan Carabot as well, because you know he's a driver that has, you know, been able to fight for titles. He's a V1 Malta Series champion, but has just never been able to really win in these close cockpit cars. He's always had, you know, this go wrong, that go wrong. He's always has had that little bit of inconsistency, maybe one result that's just, you know, not gone well for him, and that's kind of been the click that has meant that he's not been able to chain up a championship winning season.
Agius had a little bit more comfort in the Lexus, didn't he, in the Asphalt King series, so he's just strapped himself into this McLaren, and he's just not found the rhythm that we expect from Agius. Usually we know that his qualifying pace is not quite up there, but his race pace more than makes up for it, but he's just generally not been really considered a front runner, throughout this entire, you know, championship. So yeah, Agius, yes, he's up there, but there's definitely more to be had, I think, for the man in the McLaren as he comes across the line to set his next lap. Yellow flags waved out briefly. Looks like a non-representative lap time. Ators is just getting started with his lap as he goes up the hill at turn number 1, 133-foot hill that is, by the way, 41 meters of elevation, as you come all the way down the hill and head into the infamous S's, again inspired by Marcus Beckett's Chapel over in Silverstone.
Yeah, a fantastic sequence of corners are these S's at Kota. You know, they've got a real feel to it, and especially when, you know, maybe it kind of tightens up, especially around here. You know, I like that. You know, it's not just that simple flow of Silverstone. It's got a little bit of character to it, and I think that's what makes this kind of racetrack unique, and especially when it goes over the rise and then back down the hill, you sometimes get a fantastic shot of these either these GT3s. Sometimes I think the NASCARs were here one year. A shame that IndyCar don't go here. I think they may need to do that at some stage. Come on, IndyCar, let's get a return here. But yeah, usually in the Formula One, that is where you get some really good stuff. And also the World Endurance Championship. Yeah, the World Endurance Championship does go here as well. So Kota, very known worldwide. A lot of big championships have either used this place currently or formerly, you know, and I think that's, you know, something amazing about this circuit. You know, I think it does need to be used a little bit more often than it currently does.
Yeah, it's built to host everything, this circuit, really, isn't it? It obviously meets FIA Grade 1 and FIM Grade A standards. Simultaneously does this this circuit, so it's capable of hosting MotoGP, IndyCar, WEC, NASCAR, Rallycross, Formula One. It's just such a well-known, well-versatile circuit. So this is why we take a trip here in the GT3 cars, because it's more than capable of being able to produce some incredible racing. I'm looking forward to the rolling start, heading towards Turn 1. We know Turn 1 around here is usually pretty wild, but you could potentially go 4, maybe even 5 wide. It's that wide is turn number 1, as Denzel Agius sets not a faster lap on that occasion, about 5/10 down on his best lap, stays in P3.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a difficult one, I think, for him. He's still trying to work out kind of how the car is working underneath him. So we'll have to kind of see how that all kind of combines up together. You see them really kind of pushing the limits out there at this moment in time. But Manduka, that Ferrari does look strong. And then he's got a trio of McLarens in behind. 7.5 minutes left to go. So this qualifying session has gone pretty fast, in my opinion. Yeah, the Project Versio, who we're seeing here with Adrian Manduka, really being able to spread his wings. I believe the only driver in the 2-minute 04s here. So really putting in a strong time. Yellow flags. I believe that's only for the opposite side of the circuit, because it looks like the Ferrari there of Daryl Martinelli. He hasn't spun whatsoever, so he's still working his way on the track. And the next Ferrari is, as I say, Daryl Martinelli there in P6, Zimmerman in there in P7, Quattromani still there in P8. The Aston Martins and the BMWs do look like they're struggling, but let's give them some time. There's still some opportunities with less than 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, the best thing as well, just going back to that point about all of the, the nature of this particular circuit, is a little fun fact here as well, considering how young this circuit is in comparison. It's actually the first purpose-built circuit, I think, the United States ever actually made, because the rest of them have always been like temporary street circuits or converted airfields. I'm thinking street circuits, you've got the likes of Long Beach, I'm thinking Phoenix as well, airfields, Sebring, Riverside, even the Glen as well, of course, was technically not an airfield, I suppose, but it was a road course that was adapted for racing. So, the bottom line is that this is one of the youngest circuits as well on the calendar, and despite the fact it's just brought some really, really intense racing across many different sectors, but I'm certainly looking forward, as I said, going up that hill, that 133-foot incline up into turn 1, where with a rolling start you could be seeing 4, maybe 5 wide going through there. And when you've got people with nothing to lose in this particular championship now, but with a mixture of just 1 or 2 that do have a lot to lose, it could make for a little bit of a hectic start. 5 and a bit minutes to go in this qualifying. Manduka's still fastest.
Yeah, I do suspect a little bit of a chaotic start in this one, especially knowing how many lunges there have been. We've seen some very, very successful ones in the past. We've also seen Norris and Piastri having their collision in the sprint earlier in the real life Formula One season. I'm sure. I believe Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton came to collide the evening that Lewis Hamilton went on to claim I say a record. I mean, an idle equaling third world championship. If you don't know what I mean by idle equaling, it's idle. Ayrton Senna, 3-time Formula One world champion, and Lewis and the Brit managed to match him on the day. But yeah, Nico and Lewis had a little bit of a coming together on that one. That did mean that Nico did throw the hat at Lewis, so that's where that kind of famous clip comes from. In case you weren't sure.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's obviously infamous, despite the fact it's only, I'm trying to work it out in my head now, 13-year-old circuit. This is plenty of iconic moments, and the question is there going to be more iconic moments made here from this man, Sean Cassar? He's now heading through what is the complex of S's, of course, up at the top of the hill before taking that sharp left-hander to go down the hill. Of course, this is where you'll see off the back foot, you usually see the big Texas flag in the back. Not up here today, though, so I can't see the wind direction as such. In fact, there's no wind at all at the moment as well, so it is purely about raw pace here. There's going to be no headwind whatsoever going around here. Sean Cassar's actually giving this time up and letting none other James Smith make some inroads here in the Aston Martin. And here's one for you as well, Adam, if you don't mind, just to talk about the over 40s club, because this has been a bit of a weird season, hasn't it, for the likes of James Smith and Johan Borg, because the pair of them, over 40s club, both racing in the Aston Martins. It's been such an up and down season. Right at the start, they looked well off the pace, but then every so often you just see the glimmer of some serious pace. I'm thinking Circuit Ricardo Tormo, that pure, unadulterated experience, shall we say, from the over 40s club really came handy at that particular race. It just goes to show that they might just be a little bit on the older side in the over 40 club, but hell, it doesn't really matter for them. They're still racing very well indeed.
Yeah, indeed. I think they will be really looking to see if they can potentially just round the season off on a high. I think that's I know you continuously said that, but it's true. They've been really working away, seeing if they can potentially get some good results. And Johan Borg just taking a trip onto the grass on the inside of turn number 3, so he kind of transports himself back to the track, back into the pit lane, because he does have one more lap in there. Just need to go through some of the settings, get an out lap done there, and then he'll be able to do a flying lap if he comes out now. So some really strong stuff, unless by the 2-minute kind of barrier he won't get out, then that means he won't be able to get a lap time in. You kind of want to be out there about now, and I don't see that kind of dot moving. Somebody's coming into the pits as well, so that's going to be massively interesting. So Manduka is happy where he is. Denzel Adjus goes to third, and with 2 minutes to go, this is now starting to get to crunch time.
Yeah, fastest lap of the qualifying so far for Adjus, but stays in P3 at the moment. Manduka is in, so that's his qualifying done. It's a 2-minute sort of 3 or 4 second lap round here, so 2-minute 4.5 is what we're going to be looking for here. Where's Kassar at the moment in comparison? 2:04.5. He's saying a 2:05.0. So at the moment, about 0.5 of a second, half a second, Manduka against Kassar and Adjus at the moment. So he's really found his rhythm again, hasn't he, Manduka, after that really poor race at the Glen. So will he be able to sort of carry that pace forward into the main race? As it stands so far, Kassar's got to find over half a second to try and find pole position at the moment, and it's a bit of a tall order in these GT3 cars with a long lap time like this one. But again, if you make the one mistake, there's still plenty of opportunities to earn time back elsewhere.
Yep, there definitely is going to be some time left in this one. And we see there Sean Kassar still trying to fight to get to that line. He still has another lap in it, so I wonder if he is just on a plan to cool on this one, or maybe even an out lap. So Manduka won't get another time. It looks like Chris Gatt is now in the pit lane, so he won't be able to get another time in. But the rest of them, the 12 cars I haven't mentioned, are still out there, as Kassar will now head over the line. And then we'll have to see who else is there. I believe that was James Smith there, who's actually been beaten by his teammate Johan Borg in the number 66 Aston Martin, both sharing both as having a similar car, still sitting there in 11th and 12th. But if they can pull themselves into the top 10, that would be absolutely mighty.
Absolutely mighty indeed as well. Myla Furler still in P9 at the moment as well. Not a bad effort as well from the Aversio driver, looking to try, if she can, to get a little bit further up the board. Perhaps trying to beat Dominic Zimmerman himself, the Lizard Racing Team Lamborghini, currently up in P7. Martinelli and Ice have both pitted, and now the checkered flag is waving. Where's Kassar on circuit at the moment? To be interested to see where he is in comparison. He is now just parking up, so that's his qualifying over and done and dusted. That was very well planted, wasn't it? As Denzel Adjus on a lap as well, just getting started with his. He left it very last minute to get out on circuit, did Adjus. So he's now on a hot lap, probably with the track at its absolute optimum now, as we are now just going up at the top of the hill. We'll see him potentially get to the top of around about turn 9, and he'll now need to nail it out of this corner. So here's 8. Nail it right now if you can help it. Get through turn 9. Try and avoid the understeer. Don't go out wide because there's a load of grass, and then plant it all the way down towards turn 11, where then you've got that long back straight where hopefully, for him anyway, he might have a little bit of a toe from the person in front. It will be a tiny toe if he does, though.
I don't think it's going to be a toe at all for Denzel Adjus there. So a little bit unfortunate for him. It will be a very, very tiny one at all. But it does look like we're not going to be getting really any improvement. Looks like Gabriel Quattromani improved, and then Maya Lafella went to 10th, but that's really the only ones we're seeing. So Denzel Agius and Johan Borch are the two out there at this moment in time. They'll continue to push right to the end. They come into that very, very difficult sequence, the pair of them. We'll see if Johan Borch can maybe put his Aston Martin into the top 10. Agius continue to push around here in his blue and white Project Aversio caped McLaren 720S GT3 Evo, really trying to wind around the corner. I wonder if he's just trying to play around with the throttle to see if that just gets him in. And it looks like Johan Borch has dipped into the pit lane here. He can't improve it. Agius will try to push the limits continuously, making his way now in towards turn at number 20, and he'll get the acceleration out of the corner. Will he be able to improve on his time? No, he won't. He's 0.8 of a second off, and that means the final race of the season. It is Adrian Manduka with a clear view in front of him.
Yeah, I'm just putting the timers up on my phone at the moment, having a look here. I think it's just over half a second at the moment from Manduka. It's absolutely enormous in the end from the man at the front of the field. So he's really showing his pace. But Agius 0.8 down as well in P3. That just goes to show that the wide margins at the moment between the front three, and that just goes to show Manduka has a point to prove. He wants to do everything that he possibly can to go P2 overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do think that there's going to be a lot of, a lot of potential in this race. You got that kind of top three all fighting up there, but we'll have to see. Another big thank you to Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and the specialists for being a part of this production by Velocity Esports Racing. We'll see you in just a moment on the other side of these ad breaks, because we've got the final round of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship coming right up. And welcome back to the ACER Malta GT3 Championship, and we are going to be in for an absolute barnstormer of a final race here. 45 minutes on the clock as the grid starts rolling up the hill. One of the biggest pieces of elevation changes, I think, for definite on the circuit, maybe even in the US itself. My name is Adam Reed. I'll be alongside James Otter for the action tonight, and your pulser to Adrian Manduka is looking to take another win in the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. Whilst the championship are racked up, there is a big second place on the line.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Should be in for an absolute cracker of a race ahead of us, of course, because going through this one, we should be in for Adrian Manduka, doing the best that he can to try and mitigate Sean Cassar, currently in P2 in the standings, Manduka in P3. Cassar back right directly behind him, though, in this one. He needs to hope that Cassar has a bad start, maybe even do what he did at the Glen to have any hope of potentially finishing P2 in the standings here tonight. But Cassar has arguably not been the faster driver in comparison to the pair of them throughout this season, so it's all about what Manduka can do if he wants to try and take this one. Desalagius up in P3 is all good, and Daryl Martinelli once again up in P4. What a storming little bit of form that he's currently in at the moment as well. Always seems to be chipping away at the front field. He could be one to keep an eye out on in the GT3 sphere in the next couple of championships. And of course, always a pleasure to see D'Agostino, our Pro-Am driver, in the other McLaren in P5. He's just in front of Nick Ice in P6.
Indeed. So as we now see them heading round on towards the hairpin, there's so much up for stakes here. It's a second place in the title. I think the manufacturers has been fully confirmed by the McLaren team. They've had about 5 cars all season, maybe even 6 at times. They've could come out flying with some really good results from every single McLaren user. Ferraris have done pretty well as well, and also I think Ford Mustang currently sit third in that one. So I'm already kind of thinking about next season as well, because Sheldon Muscat didn't come back to defend his title, and now we've seen Ryan Karaboth. I think he'll be maybe happy with one title. That could open it up to next season, but we won't get into that kind of worms just yet. But you're just seeing the grid on that left hand side, still so much to look forward to as well, but they'll get in formation pretty soon to get our race on towards the green flag.
Expecting this to be quite short in the terms of the number of laps, perhaps only around 20 laps of racing here. Of course, it's a very long lappery of around about 2 minutes and 5 seconds, so there's not going to be that much in the way of laps here, and that may also influence the driver's decision making throughout here, knowing that yes, it might have got 20 corners per lap, but not that many corners in terms of the entire race. So keep a very firm eye on that one, on what the decisions are going to be, especially for those in the midfield. I'm thinking of the Lizard Racing team and the likes of Zimmerman as well. He's going to be one to keep an eye out and potentially make some overtakes. Myla Furl obviously wants to try and stay within the top 10. Johan Borg and James Smith in the over 40 club have also got something to prove, and of course our rookie driver at the back, Ericsson, will want to also get in the mix as well down at the back in P14. Should be an absolute cracker as they now retain formation as they get going with this race.
Indeed, it'll be Adrian Manduka there on the left-hand side, and it'll be Sean Cassar on the right-hand side, who will come out on top in the final round of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. You will get in line. The train track will await, and then we'll hit the green very, very soon. The man right at the end in the gantry will wait. Round 8 of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship Season 2 is underway here at the Circuit of the Americans, and and they'll make their way up the hill with Adrian Manduke on that inside line. Look at Dominic Zimmerman looking at, like to try and make a big attack 3-wide in towards the first corner. That usually doesn't end well. Zimmerman is slowed up as well, and now we see Kassar just trying to slip into second place officially, but he's got Adjias all over his tail. Looks like Daryl Martinelli is trying to slot himself into fourth place officially as they head their way through the first split. And it's a decent lead already for Adrian Manduka, really trying to be announsive on his speed. And he'll climb up the hill and try and extend that gap, but again it looks like Sean Kassar is going with him.
Yeah, Adjias made a slight mistake though going through turn 6, had a little bit of a wiggle on, and that's invited Martinelli into a little bit of a scrap, but in doing so it's actually invited D'Agostino into a scrap as well. Let's keep an eye on that battle for P4 at the moment, because it's looking like he's going to go around the outside line, but that may invite D'Agostino and Nick Ice into the mix here, and he'll get a lovely tow as they head all the way down towards turn number 12. Can we go on board actually with D'Agostino, because it looks like he's getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed at the moment there between him and Martinelli, who's absolutely tried to show that he's got no space down that inside line, but the Ferrari has to welcome the McLaren down the inside line into turn number 12. D'Agostino's gone too deep into turn number 12. They will go side by side into the next corner. D'Agostino may have the inside line though going into 13, and they bang wheels once again, and there goes Nick Ice potentially side by side with the Ferrari as well, and the Ferrari's going to have the inside of the next corner. He might have to go for the late breaker between the pair. Is it going to be another bang? No, Nick Ice leaves in the space, but they're still going to be retained side by side. But Martinelli has lost the position in the end to D'Agostino, but you'd have to argue in particularly controversial circumstances, track extending at turn 12 to have the inside of turn 13? I don't know.
Yeah, that's going to be quite a talked about factor, I think, amongst the stewards. But you know, they just managed to all survive. You know, there's no contact, there's no car facing the barriers, there's no one less car as well to this race. But they'll carry on forward. But D'Agostino's really got himself in a big old tussle here, and I think also Nicholas Holmberg is going to try and get on through here, but he's not going to try and do it immediately. Look at Robin Barwen there in the background. Big hit there from Holmberg, and he smacks the back of Martinelli's Ferrari. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Ford likes the Ferrari. You know, there used to be a massive tussle between each other in the 60s, but you know, that kind of rivalry's kind of simmered down a little bit. But you know, there's still kind of opportunities to make that headline every now and again. You know, the likes of Le Mans and all of that. So we'll see how this battle kind of contains itself throughout the 42 minutes it's got left on the clock. But you know, D'Agostino really just wants to try and get on his high horse and work his way up towards some clear air. But again, Martinelli looking all over the back of him, and he's about to go into the back of the McLaren, I thought, for a second.
Yeah, Martinelli's actually got, I was wondering if he may have diffuser damage actually off of the back of that collision with Nick Ice. It was quite a big hit from the Ford, straight down the inside. D'Agostino trying to do exactly the same thing, and then a little bit of a wiggle to try and break the toe, but Martinelli sees it coming. He'll keep using the toe as he heads towards turn number 12. Then will the McLaren have to defend this one around the outside? He will not. He returns back to the racing line, and it's caught Nick Ice napping a little bit going through turn 12. Very well handled, but Martinelli is not looking comfortable out there at the moment, I have to say. If you're going to pick somewhere, you've got to stick to it. You can't return to where you were in the braking zone, and that's what's caught Nick Ice out, and that Ford Mustang will be absolutely livid with the Ferrari, and in fact he's gone wide now going through turn number 15. Is Nick Ice going to get any toe? No, he won't, not on this occasion, but Martinelli needs to play it very carefully. A couple of situations there where actually he's becoming a quite increasingly aggressive out on circuit.
Yeah, he's really trying to work hard. Is Martinelli trying to really work away here? But look, they're inviting Dominic Zimmerman on the battle. We already saw how aggressive he was in the opening first corner of this one. But Barwen is now going to really work away here, and of course these are all Lizard Racing Team drivers as well. So I think they've got a big opportunity to work together here and maybe send Martinelli off to Narnia, but you know, in a nice way, rather than sending him off into the shadow realm, maybe just sending him off the course for maybe a second or two to try to invite all three of them through. You know, you're allowed a little bit of door-to-door action, but you know, just don't purposely whack a car off the track, and that would be a bit quite ungentlemanlike, in all honesty. So, it's just about trying to really work away, maybe just put Martinelli off the rhythm. The best way to do that is, speaking of off the rhythm, there goes Dominic Zimmerman past his teammate of Nick Holmberg, and now he's looking to go on through here. So maybe the Lamborghini Huracan could try and go for the move here, as Barwen will now pass the Ford Mustang, and is not looking good for the sole American car.
Maybe Nick Ice is currently struggling at the moment a little bit with diffuser damage on the front end of the car, of course, after colliding with Martinelli a little bit earlier on. So he's allowed the Lamborghini, who usually Zimmerman is in his own little no man's land throughout this season. He's usually not really in the thick of the races, so this will feel very unusual for the LZRT driver. But he's now just heading his way down into turn number 12. No issue whatsoever with any kind of traction out and in the corner. Nick Ice now starting to get to the back here, as we're now going back to the battle with Myla Furler. Now, Myla Furler's lost a lot of ground here to the Barven at the moment, and that's because she's been scrapping with James Smith. She's just got the overtake done going through turn number 15, but now this is a group of 4 drivers who are all racing in their own little scrap at the moment, with the likes of Barven, though, well up the field in comparison. He's in his own little scrap just behind Nick Ice, Zimmerman and Martinelli, and D'Agostino, who's leading that little group. And then you head back all the way to the P1, P2, P3 battle at the moment. So we go to Manduka and Sean Kassar. There's the scrap there between them at the moment. Remember, whoever Manduka needs to obviously outrace Kassar, but Kassar needs to finish a little bit lower than P2 at the moment if Manduka has any chance of finishing P2 in the standings overall in this championship.
And I wonder if you're Sean Kassar, will you be thinking about a potential undercut here? Because, of course, you know how quick Manduka is. He's a multi-time race winner this season, but and he's in a position to do that again. But if you really want to win your first race, you've got to try and maybe do an undercut here. You've got less than 33 minutes remaining left in the pit window, and I think this could genuinely be that time to try and maybe just maybe force him maybe Manduka to do a little bit of a reaction here. He won't be in the pits for too long either, I imagine, but you really want to be trying to push yourself into a kind of a position where you're able to put Manduka under pressure. Don't make this one too easy for him. Put him under pressure. Try something different, because you're not going to do it by just copying that Progetto Versio cast. The Intercomp VDM Sim Sport driver must, I think, try something different here, but try and make it simple. Don't go too risky. Just try and keep it simple is what my words would be to our second place runner here.
37 minutes to go in this session, 37 minutes left of this season as well of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship, and Adrian Manduka still able to hold station against Kassar. Here's the battle with Martinelli and D'Agostino. Really, really strong battle between these two here. D'Agostino defending quite well at the moment against a very aggressive Martinelli out there as well. Daryl Martinelli is a man who's currently in form at the moment, so he's clearly using that form with a little mixture of aggression to really assert some dominance around this circuit. Now he'll have a nice tow going towards turn number 1, and then heading up this hill again, 133 feet I believe it is, heading towards turn number 1, but he will get out of the tow, and then D'Agostino actually going for the early cut-in to try and avoid any kind of overtake. Martinelli sees that one coming, goes around the outside to try and get the traction out of the corner, but once again the Ferrari man just not able to seize any opportunity against this Intercomp McLaren. So it's very well defended at the moment from the Pro-Am driver, while Martinelli is playing a much more aggressive game, but make note, up a 133 foot incline. I think it's, if I'm right in saying, that might be the second tallest incline, because I think the other one is the second tallest incline in America, because I think the first one's actually corkscrew, isn't it? 180 foot. Ooh, mistake there from D'Agostino at the top of this hill, though. They'll go side by side as they continue through here. Now he might have to go for the late break here, will the Ferrari man, but he's going to get squeezed off of the circuit. He's touched the grass as the Ferrari. He'll get the switch back through 11, and then he'll head now down towards 12 with an opportunity if the tow works, though. Is he going to get squeezed to the inside line, I wonder? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see how he goes here. D'Agostino definitely feels like he's under pressure here. He's gone defensive in this one. Comes back to the racing line, so he's not allowed to move anymore here. Will Martinelli make the move down into all the left-hander at turn number 12? He won't. He'll decide to play it smart here, and the Ferrari will just back off this time around. I believe the McLaren car just still in control of this one. We know how fast D'Agostino is, but with that car looking very twitchy, I'm not entirely sure how how it's going to go throughout the majority, because I wonder, whilst the fuel burns down, that will make the car lighter. Will that make the car a bit more twitchy, or will that make it a little bit more controllable and predictable? That's kind of another question in my mind that's going on. Again, Martinelli will have another attempt here to try and work out an attack here. Track temperature 22 degrees, so it will be pretty warm there. It won't burn through the tires, but it's not absolutely freezing cold. So it's kind of a nice, quite humid conditions for these guys to really work on here. Again, Martinelli just a little bit too far back to have a go there on the McLaren.
Yeah, losing the rear ever so slightly. I don't think he's burning through the tyres as a result of heat on circuit. As you said, 22 degrees Celsius on the circuit as well. It's not a particularly warm circuit when you're at 71 Fahrenheit. So at 72 Fahrenheit rather. At 72 Fahrenheit, the tyres are in that optimal window, and the track does feel optimum. But you can see there he's sliding out of corners, and the reason for that is obviously pushing, but he's also getting a bucket of dirty air off the back of that McLaren. So that's going to obviously hinder his performance, and in doing so, he's obviously also going to be shredding his tyres in the process. So actually, D'Agostino making a mistake. Martinelli may end up pitting a little bit earlier on, because he's been stuck behind D'Agostino more than D'Agostino's been behind Martinelli. It goes straight to the inside, though, of turn number 12 then. As he approach turn number 12, will Martinelli have to go around the outside? He certainly looked for it around the outside. He's going to have to brake considerably later, though, and he certainly is going to be looking for it later, though, as they go around this corner here, turn number 12. Is the grip going to be there for Martinelli? No, it won't. And while this is happening, he's stuck behind. Zimmerman is now breathing right down the rear end of the pair of them, and a little mistake there potentially as well from the Ferrari man. Zimmerman going for the late breaker, obviously needed to try and avoid that one as well. Again, later on the brakes from Martinelli, but he's going to be off camber. Zimmerman's going to have all of the traction out of this corner, and then through this treble right-hander, I think the Lamborghini is actually going to have an opportunity here.
Yeah, it does seem like it's got a very aerodynamic shape about it. So they're coming now in towards turn number 19. And again, will that all green and purple Lamborghini Huracan get that chance? Because that Ferrari just been struggling for the last half a lap, and all he needs to do is really just have one sniff of the coffee. I think he's going to absolutely go for it. But now it seems like the Ferrari is right behind D'Agostino once again. Martinelli really proving himself as a really good racer at this moment in time. He'll get that car rotated through Big Red and on towards turn number 2. They'll sweep down the hill and on towards 3 and 4. But this is not an overtaking opportunity. It's just no edge to this one so far. But Martinelli will just stick there on the back of D'Agostino. Let's just wait to see what happens this time around.
Just keeping an eye out then as well on the other battles there behind as well. Nick Ice is just managing to pull a little bit of a gap now against Barvin. Barvin is quite a significant way behind now in the BMW. So Nick Ice could just focus now on Zimmerman here. So nothing to really worry about between the LRT drivers. They're pretty happy in 6th, 7th and 8th respectively. But I must admit, Nick Ice drifting out of that corner in the Ford Mustang is very uncharacteristic of this particular car. Rear-wheel drive, front-engine car, drifting around there is absolutely astonishing. Keep an eye on this battle again. D'Agostino, Martinelli getting into a scrap, potentially going into turn number 12. Will the Ferrari man go for the lunge down the inside line? The gap is there. He could go for it. If he lunges down the inside, it's got to be a later breaker, and he has lunged for it, but it's a half-hearted move, and D'Agostino sees it coming and reacts by cutting him off, going through the corner. Again, it's very well defended here from the Pro-Am driver, and you can tell Martinelli starting to get a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, he is. He's starting to kind of feel that there is not really any bite to this Ferrari, and maybe it just cannot seem to find a way through. But I think he's just got to stay patient here, play the long game. He's still got half an hour left to try and overtake Mark D'Agostino. So I think the McLaren is still running really well, but, the Ferrari may be thinking of an undercut. But everyone likes to go as late as they possibly can in this one. So we'll have to kind of see how this all just plays out. They kind of slightly underfueled the car as well. So and when you're stopped for half a minute in the box, it's just really difficult to just keep yourself in check as well. So we'll see how this all turns out, but it just looks like through 19 and 20 that Ferrari just looks really good, but then the McLaren starts to pull away a bit.
End of the third sector and the beginning of the first sector, that Ferrari is looking pretty lethal out of the corners, which is of course is helping Manduca up at the front. But throughout the rest of this lap, Martinelli just doesn't have any confidence at the moment. A little mistake though from D'Agostino here going through turn 6 here. That might offer Martinelli a dive down the inside, and he saw that one coming, and that is a reactive move here as D'Agostino was trying to avoid the collision. Zimmerman also getting into his own scrap. This is very unrealistic. Oh my goodness me, that's close here, as it looks like Martinelli's trying to give that position right back to the McLaren man, and Zimmerman doesn't have to adhere to anything here. He could go for the double dive if he wants to here. Is he going to go dive bomb on Martinelli? He's certainly looking for it, but the Lamborghini not trying to go for it. So D'Agostino gets that position back. Martinelli, I think, to be honest with you, was a bit frustrated with that little move, and that's why he had to give that position back just off his own back. The LRT drivers are in their own scrap while this is happening. Zimmerman has absolutely nothing to lose, but Nick Ice is now going to take this position right back out of the hands here of the rest of the runners down that outside line. He should have the traction out of the corner versus Zimmerman, who's actually squeezing him onto the circuit. LRT drivers getting in their own little scrap. They're racing for position, so they're happy to just, race to the absolute limits of the lean purple-green machines, as we just keep an eye out on that Martinelli battle with D'Agostino. D'Agostino back in front of Martinelli in the end, but you'd have to argue there, Martinelli going for a real rash dive. D'Agostino reacts to try and avoid the collision. Martinelli clearly did not feel comfortable with that overtake, wanted to give the position back, but then nearly completely caught Zimmerman napping.
No, remember, these cars are pretty heavy compared to, your single-seaters. They've not got a lot of aero. So, in making that kind of reaction, I think that D'Agostino really scared himself off the road. He's made another mistake. Meanwhile, into the pits comes Dominic Zimmerman. And now we'll see, coming on toward the main show, again, that goes very defensive, and on towards Big Red we go of turn number 1. Martinelli is forced to the outside. Will he be able to switch it onto the inside? No, he won't. He'll stick D'Agostino onto that left hand side, but on toward the traction down through 2 and on toward 3. D'Agostino stays ahead. Great defensive job there by the McLaren, but again, Nick Ice will think, I want to get involved in this one.
Yeah, he's certainly looking very good and doing Intercomp very proud indeed at the moment, is D'Agostino. We're very happy indeed. If you don't mind, I'm going to go back towards the front here, because this battle will probably settle down a little bit as people's tyres are going to be obviously feeling a little bit aged here. Manduca is pulling a gap now on Sean Cassar, so feeling pretty decent at the moment are these runners here. Cassar is losing a book of ground, and as he's doing that one, Agius is also losing ground. So the front three once again separated by 5/10 and 8/10 overall in the qualifiers, and that gap difference is starting to show with just a little bit under half of this race done. Back to the battle between Nick Ice and Barvan, if you don't mind, because it looked like Barvan was getting in the mix, unless he was, in fact, pardon me, it looked like he was in his own overtake, but I don't think he was. I think actually the battle was with James Smith and Myla Furler once again. This is the battle between 8th and 9th place respectively, and in fact, James Smith, where is he on circuit at the moment? I think he's quite a ways ahead actually, so I thought I saw some overtaking happening, but I must be mistaken.
Yeah, I think that this track's a little bit quiet in terms of the track's a little bit starving there for overtakes, but we're getting some good battles. It's just looks like D'Agostino's just really good at defending. Martinelli's just not quite being as lethal in his attacking. Manduca's being really quick. Cassar is staying consistent here, so it does seem like that at this moment in time you're really getting a sense of strategies having to come into play here. And just as I say that, in comes Daryl Martinelli. So this could be a really interesting sighter for Sean Cassar here, because if he realizes that Daryl Martinelli might just about come out ahead of Dominic Zimmerman, that's something he might if Zimmerman comes out in front of Martinelli, that might be the key here to make your way into the pit lane at this stage of the race. Remember, you got 20 minutes to make your pit stop. We are just, I believe, coming under the halfway point here. I think we're a little bit just over, because we started off with 45 minutes on the clock. 42.5 is probably the halfway mark on that one. So let's see what Dominic Zimmerman does, because there is Linus Eriksson. He's got past the green and purple Lizard Racing team. And I think this is going to be pretty crucial in some drivers' races.
Martinelli, I think, just about leaving the pit lane at the moment as well. There he is. Where is Zimmerman in all of this one? He should be getting pretty close here. And will Zimmerman get the undercut? The undercut is extremely powerful at the Circuit of the Americas, so this one should be done and dusted, and he does get the jump. No issue at all on Martinelli. So look at that, the gap there. He is leaving the pit lane. The Circuit of the Americas, the undercut is so powerful around here, so if you commit to an earlier pit stop, you're more than likely going to gain a bucket of time, and that is a testament to Zimmerman at the moment with his current pace out there, as Eriksson, the rookie driver, getting all over the back of Martinelli. Zimmerman then, what an opportunity it is for him, whilst everyone else has decided not to pit against D'Agostino at the moment. He's actually in pretty decent position here. D'Agostino up in P4 at the moment, but he is trying to extend his stint against the likes of Zimmerman here, and Zimmerman was all over the back of these guys at one point here, so actually keep an eye out on D'Agostino. Is he going to pit? Is he going to try and cover off at the back of Zimmerman? He's not. I don't think this is a good idea, you know.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. You've already made the realization that Zimmerman's got past Daryl Martinelli, but I don't know how many drivers realize that the undercut could be a big thing in this race, because if there's one driver I think that wants to do it, it would be Sean Cassar. But is he aware of that's the situation going on? I don't think so. I don't think that Sean Cassar, unless he has an engineer in his ear, which again I don't think so. I just can't see him, trying that undercut again. D'Agostino, I'm not sure how aware he will be, unless you have great faith in his pace. We'll have to really see, because he was showing some similar pace to Zimmerman and Martinelli. In comes Robin Barwin as well, so that's something to kind of note out. And I think if D'Agostino pits now, he should be behind Zimmerman. And if he's not careful, behind Martinelli, who's having a big old tussle with Linus Eriksson. He was just ahead of the BMW as he exited the pit lane. So, again, I really question where this race is going for some.
Yeah, strategy-wise, it's not particularly decent at the moment here from D'Agostino. He's obviously trying to have the grip towards the end of this race, but while the tyre degradation is going to be about equal, Zimmerman is probably going to be significantly faster. In fact, look at that one, he's already at turn number 2 in comparison to D'Agostino, who was at the end of the straight. So one has a sneaking suspicion here that the Lamborghini is going to be very close indeed to D'Agostino here, so keep an eye out on that Lizard Racing team driver, because he is blisteringly quick as the rear just ever so slightly porpoises under the traction of the corner. He's clearly pushing out there at the moment, is the LZRT driver, so that should be an absolute one to keep an eye on. And Sean Cassar has elected now to pit, so Denzel Agius will get the jump on Cassar, but Manduka, of course, will be just keeping a very small eye on that one at the moment, because he's been the quicker driver, but Cassar's going to be definitely on the quicker tyre. D'Agostino finally in for his pit stop.
Yeah, that's going to be 2 crucial pit stops here. I think these are going to be really telling. So I'd love to just stick with these guys. They make their pit stop. We'll have a look on Nick Ice and maybe update you on his race. He is running it currently now in P4. He's probably hoping to come out maybe behind Daryl Martinelli. I think that's in his case, he'll be hoping to try and come up maybe a little bit behind Martinelli. Unless he, unless he maybe can get a little bit closer. I'm not entirely sure. But you know, it looks like James Smith is in, Johan Borch is in, so both Aston Martins are going to be in. So this is a critical stage of this race, in fact. You're really looking to see.
Sorry to interrupt, where's Zimmerman at this point? I'm kind of interested to see where Zimmerman is on circuit, because of course this is where it's going to get pretty critical here now, and I just want to keep a very firm eye on this little battle here, because him and D'Agostino, and where is D'Agostino in all this one? I'd imagine he's about leaving the pit stops now, isn't he? He certainly is. So here comes Zimmerman. Is he going to get the jump here? Where is Zimmerman? He's coming across the start finishing line right now. It's going to be ultimately an extremely close endeavour between the pair of them, but I've got a gut feeling Zimmerman has just missed out here on that move with D'Agostino. So D'Agostino has just been able to make this overcut rather, work an absolute treat. He's used that gap to his advantage, and now he's got the fresher tyre.
Yeah, indeed, that was decent there from D'Agostino. He really had trust in his pace, so I think that's also part of this race. I also want to check on Sean Cassar, because this is something I was going to mention. How much traffic is he in? And oh my goodness me, he's in absolutely none. He is on cloud 9 in terms of traffic. Nothing ahead of him, nothing behind him. He can just go on and push the living daylights out of these tyres, getting all the lap times he can, because Adrian Manduka and Denzel Adjus are now in the pit. This is going to be race defining if this all works. Let's have a look at this battle here, because Chris Gatt, 4th position, is fighting away with what seems like Dominic Zimmerman, and Dominic Zimmerman has managed to get past that orange and blue McLaren as he heads his way on towards turn number 12. Will Gatt go for the move? That McLaren looks strong enough. He doesn't. I think that number 34 is just going to wait on this one, still with a pit stop left to be made. Also, Nicholas Holmberg is in, Maya Lafella is in, Gabriel Quattromani is in, and down the pit lane trundles Adrian Manduka, but I think it's just going to be ahead here of Sean Cassar.
Where's Sean Cassar in this one as well? I think he's just going down the start finishing line. I don't think he's going to get a big jump here on the likes of Manduka, but where is he going to be versus Adjus is going to be the question here as he goes through into turn number 1 right now. Manduka is well in front. There he is there, look. So no issues whatsoever. Look at the jump. Adjus look at the jump Cassar has had on Adjus. It's absolutely enormous. So he's got no concerns whatsoever now of the car behind him. He's going to hope that perhaps with slightly warmer tyres, he's going to be able to make a jump here on Manduka, but he's already starting to slide already. Is that Intercomp McLaren? For the Ferrari man just needs to warm his tyres up and just bring it home as far as he's concerned. Where is D'Agostino in all of this one as well? Remember, D'Agostino was in his own little scrap, of course, with other people around him. He's obviously got the jump no issue on Maya Lafella, Quattromani, and I would expect Nick Ice as well. So he gets up now into P4. Zimmerman will do exactly the same thing, but he has now got to try and sort of ease into this battle with D'Agostino once again, especially considering Martinelli, who is down in P6, has had an absolute stinker of a strategy, and now he's well down the field in comparison to D'Agostino and Zimmerman.
Yeah, that's going to be this is going to be really interesting. You know, D'Agostino now is still in 4th. You know, he's still keeping a really good pace about this. Dominic Zimmerman has put himself into a really good position, but yeah, that Lamborghini just wasn't quite able to get onto the back of that McLaren. I think the McLarens have been, you know, really fast, really consistent all throughout this one. You know, D'Agostino shown great pace. He's only really had 2 blunders when he finished 11th at Spielberg and a DNF right at the beginning of the race at Barcelona. So apart from that, he's had an absolute stellar season so far. So you know, I think if D'Agostino can really have that extra edge going into season 3, you know, I can definitely see him being kind of a top 3 contender. If he can just string a season together, he'll be right in the mix there. And he's also looking to try and take 5th in the championship away for Dominic Zimmerman. And at the moment, the McLaren is at this rate would be able to take that place away. So these are crucial times here for D'Agostino, for Zimmerman. Daryl Martinelli not having the best of runs on this one. Also, Nick Holmberg waited out a little bit too long. He's now found himself behind Chris Gatz, who is yet to make his pit stop, and I'd potentially see him coming down in P13 once he exits the pit lane.
Scat in the pits then in this one as well, which will promote both of the over 40 clubs driver now into the top 10. James Smith, Johan Borg and the Aston Martins now up into 9th and 10th place respectively, with Chris Gat now in the pit lane. So good effort from them. Myla Furler had an absolute stinker of a strategy as well, so she's down in P12 at the moment, obviously promoted to P11 with Chris Gat in the pit lane. So she's got a point to prove, got some opportunities maybe to make some inroads if she can help it, but on the fresher tyre and the amount of time that she's lost, she has not got a lot of time left in this race and of course in this championship, because it'll all be all done in for just a little bit now under 15.5 minutes.
Indeed, 15.5 minutes remaining left on the clock, and we'll have to see how this all kind of works out. The German Dominik Zimmermann is really just trying to work away in his Lamborghini Huracan, but I don't know how much steam he has left. It will be such a tough one, so I think he may have to start looking behind there at Daryl Martinelli, who might start coming at him at a rapid rate of knots. And that will be absolutely a titanic battle, I think, for 5th place. And I think Zimmermann will want to keep that for all that he can, especially when there is a 5th place on the line in the Drivers' Championship. We'll continue to watch this one because we just now start to simmer down with the battle. So it might be the fact that I think that maybe Kota isn't quite the place for overtaking. You just got to be maybe even half a second, maybe even 6/10, 8/10, maybe even a second faster than everyone else kind of around you in order to maybe get an overtake. But yeah, it's so difficult, it seems like, in these GT3 cars, but we've still got ourselves a really good race on our hands.
Yeah, starting to simmer down, if you will, at the moment. The man in P5 looking like he's actually in a really decent position. It's the first time, I think, all season we've actually seen him in some kind of racing trim, if I'm honest with you, because it always seems to have been in a bit of a no man's land without anyone in front or really behind him either. So it's been a decent race, actually, considering all of that. He's done 7 weeks without really racing with anyone, and then in the 8th week he's had a few opportunities. He's had an opportunity to commit to an overtake at some uncharacteristic corners, and also to top it off as well, he's made a little mistake going through turn 5. He's also in a bit of a weird position where he had to commit to some avoiding action as well from the man behind him, Daryl Martinelli. So, you know, considering all of that one, you'd forgive him for being a bit of asleep at the wheel, but you know what? He's kept up strong, he's kept his confidence, and he's kept his reaction times absolutely brilliant. And this will be a very good, I think, if I'm right in saying, this will be is this a race result equaling performance for Zimmermann as it stands if he finishes in P5?
Yeah, I think that would be. I think that might be even his best result of the season. I don't think I have the results recorded from Watkins Glen, unfortunately. So, god damn you, Excel spreadsheet. You know, you haven't done me well on that part. But yeah, I think Zimmermann definitely up to Laguna Seca had a best finisher of 6th place. But yeah, if he finishes 5th, I think that would be super deserved.
Well, we've just got a little bit over 12 minutes to go then in this session. 12 minutes left in this championship. We've got Kotramani getting into a little bit of a battle with Myla Furler. This is the battle for P11 in the standings as they just come out of turn 11. Down towards turn number 12. Kotramani will have to go around the outside in the Lightning McQueen-inspired Rust-eze 95 livery. Around the outside he will go, but as he just slightly overshot it, I think he might have done. Myla Furler breaking a little bit earlier, probably undershot it a little bit. So they've gone a bit equal going into turn number 13. They'll go side by side in this one, a little bit wide for Myla Furler. Will opportunity knocks then for Quattromani, but he'll have the outside of the corner. He may want to consider a switchback if it's there for him, but he'll stay around the outside then of turn number 15 and then go through the treble right-hander, but going a bit wide. Quattromani struggling to go around the outside of corners without overshooting it at the moment. So stays in P12, Myla Furler holding on to P11 as it stands in the Project Aversio McLaren.
Indeed, he's still going to try and see if he can potentially get past Maya Lafella, but again, looking back here, Martinelli is trying to put on a little bit of pressure here on Dominic Zimmerman. And again, he is starting to just reel that Lamborghini Huracan in. But with 11.5 minutes to go, I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be as easy as he hopes. You know, again, that Lamborghini really starting to work away here. But, you know, I think as the track temperature is starting to rise up a little bit, you know, it's getting more grippy. But that Lamborghini is losing fuel, burning fuel, as I should say. And it's starting to get a little bit lighter over time. He is starting to make a couple of mistakes here and there. So Martinelli will have the as I say, Martinelli will have that opportunity coming at him very, very soon. I think he just needs to try and maybe catch them by surprise. And I think this is going to be a real test to see what overtaking is actually like around the circuit.
Yeah, Darryl Martinelli's obviously been a lot more aggressive in this race as well. And how is Zimmerman going to react to that, of course? Because remember, as I said, he's not really been racing with anyone this season. He's always found himself in a bit of no man's land for the last 7 weeks of this championship. So Martinelli will probably try to play the mind game a little bit more with Zimmerman. He'll not really know how to approach a man who has been a lot more aggressive. He might actually offer a little bit more space, maybe. And Martinelli, of course, will take every advantage of every inch that is provided to him around this 20-turn circuit in the heart of Texas.
Indeed, less than 10 minutes to go. We'll have to see again what is the results. Let's have a look up front, really, because Agent Manduka and Sean Cassar are really kind of just they're kind of a little bit of a world away here. You know, Manduka is kind of romped off down the road, and then Cassar will be really trying to just put himself in a position where, again, I think Cassar will just be looking at trying to just keep second place in this one. But yeah, Agis is slightly struggling there. He's even behind Chris Gatt as well. So Chris Gatt is a lapped car in all of this, as well as Linus Eriksson, who's right in the heart of the midfield. And then we'll head in towards this kind of final section with 9 minutes left on the clock. And I think we'll see our final winner of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship coming up very soon.
Yeah, should be any issue at the moment as regards to P2 in the standings. I do believe Sean Cassar still has P2 overall, regardless at the moment. He's doing everything that he can, other than winning this race, to sort of defend here from Manduka, who's going to be gaining a bucket of points from a performance that's been absolutely fabulous from the Ferrari man. Nick Ice in P7 still, by the way, in this little midfield battle. Now, of course, he's lost a lot of ground to the likes of Martinelli, but actually a little bit of a switch here for the likes of Nick Ice. You'd expect Zimmerman to be in this position where he's got no one really in front of him to challenge, but no one behind him challenging either. So Nick Ice and Zimmerman have decided to switch positions at Lizard Racing Team for this race, and find Zimmerman is actually going to be the one in his own little scrap here. In fact, Martinelli getting quite close again to the back of that Lamborghini. Look how close he is here through the treble right-hander. Might offer an opportunity going through into turn 1 here if he gets these sets of corners right. Get as close as he can to the Lamborghini without going overboard, without outbraking yourself into these next corners. Just keep it nice and cool, nice and easy, and you might size up an opportunity going through into turn 1.
Indeed, Martinelli now right on the back of Zimmerman here. I think he's going to immediately dart towards that pit wall here. So we'll have to really see if he tries to go for the gap. Unless Zimmerman goes immediately defensive, he'll come away. I thought it would come away from that that curved line. Again, that Ferrari is just now stuck, and there goes Maya Lafella and Gabriel Quattromani. These two are embroiled in a battle for 11th. So hopefully that won't. I think they'll have fun with that one because they seem to be the only two cars in their own little postcode at the minute. And unfortunately, I am a little bit sorry for them, but that's not in a good way. Maya Lafella makes a little bit of a mistake here. Gabriel Quattromani is now going to go to the outside here. The Rusty sponsored car Ferrari is now going to try that outside of the McLaren. Two manufacturers you normally see in Formula One battling together, and again that McLaren looks to go wide of Maya Lafella. Quattromani should be having this one as easy as apple pie.
Yeah, lovely, absolutely lovely racing actually as well. That sweeping round turn 2 and then locking that position for Quattromani now up to P11. It's now a three-way battle here as Martinelli's trying to get as close as he can to Zimmerman. In fact, he's going down to the inside. Actually, Ericsson is going to want to try and avoid this. Remember, this is a Lizard Racing Team driver who's actually got in the way of his own teammate, and that has now allowed the overtake. But great switchback from the Lamborghini to have the traction out of that corner. Collision between the pair of them there, and you have to say Zimmerman probably cut right in front of the Ferrari in fairness to Martinelli, but Ericsson would do wise to get out of the way of these people here, and especially his own teammate as well. That was shaky stuff here, and no doubt Zimmerman's going to be having very strong conversations with his rookie teammate down in P14. Why did he not get out of the way of his own teammate here? He's not obliged to legally, but morally with your teammate in a strong battle with one of the most aggressive drivers on the circuit at the moment. Come on, Ericsson, you've got to learn better than that, man.
Yeah, indeed, that was a little bit of a shaky moment between those two. I think that was one where you just kind of had to back off, maybe go that little bit wide. Do not interfere with your teammate here. So again, I don't really know if they've kind of put this down to lack of overtaking opportunities around the circuit. But again, Martinelli still stuck behind that green and purple Lizard Racing Team Lamborghini. He's been looking at that rear wing for a very, very long time. The V10 screaming away in front of the turbocharged Ferrari. Martinelli just seemingly cannot find a way through the rear, starting to step out on that McLaren. I just wonder if that's him pushing too hard. Maybe the tires are just starting to go with less than 5 minutes left of this race here at the Circuit of the American, the final 5 minutes of Season 2 of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship.
Quattromani is also facing exactly the same problem behind Maya Lafurla, where he loses the rear through the medium speed corners. So I'm wondering if it's a Ferrari born issue at the moment of dirty air really affecting the rear end of that car. Of course, it's a rear wheel drive, rear engine turbocharged car, so there's a lot of turbo lag that going straight into the raw power of the rear tires here. Back to Martinelli though, please, because that battle is still definitely not all done and dusted. He's going for the late breaker, going into the next corner. He's going to overshoot it massively, is Martinelli. He's going to lose that time back with Zimmerman. He'll have the inside, but you can tell Martinelli is getting increasingly frustrated, and he's trying every rash move he can to get past that lean green machine that is the Lizard Racing Team Lamborghini.
Indeed. And again, he'll sniff for those opportunities. He'll have to smell, he'll have to wake up a little bit more if he wants to try and make that move stick. But on toward the triple right-hander. And again, it just seems like Zimmerman has been able to keep himself in check and stay ahead of the Ferrari. It's been quite a mighty effort, despite all the mistakes the 950, the number 950 Lamborghini Huracan has made. And again, Martinelli will look for another attempt here. But the more they're doing this, the more they're doing battle, they're just inviting Nicholas Holmberg in that Ford Mustang to enter in on the fight here. And I just wonder if he'll maybe want to just go slightly over aggressive and maybe try and find a way through, maybe prise open the door with a crowbar.
Well, Zimmerman's obviously keeping it nice and cool, nice and easy, and he's just navigating his way around the circuit, whilst Martinelli is just trying everything. And to be fair to Zimmerman, very good way of managing the race. He doesn't not getting shook up at all by the man behind him making rash moves. He's just managing his own race and just says, look, you do what you want. You're not going to get past me, even if you try and do these rash moves. And of course, inviting Nick Ice into the situation is of course only going to help LZRT. Lizard Racing Team, of course, will be very happy to have their man up in P6 as well. So really good opportunity here, and if LZRT have got any kind of brain to use here, they're going to use that aggression of Martinelli to their advantage. Let him go for those rash moves, force him into a wrong part of the circuit, and invite Nick Ice into the corner. They'll go now out of turn 11 into turn number 12. He dives to the inside, back to the racing line. Martinelli, is he going to go for the dive again going into turn number 12? Is he going to try and find it here? He is diving to the inside line. Is he going to go for the late breaker? He won't. out on this occasion. He's learnt his lesson. Has he caught, though, Zimmerman? He has caught Zimmerman. That's perfectly crafted here between the pair of them. Zimmerman may go for the dive going through into turn number 13. Out wide, the Ferrari will go. But then here comes the Lamborghini, who is going to get held up slightly here. He's not going to go for the dive into the next corner. And it looks like Martinelli has finally got the move done going through turn 12. And it was the mind games in the end. And Nick Ice is trying to get all over the back now of his teammate Zimmerman. What are LZRT going to do? Nick Ice makes a mistake, though.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a shame there for Holmberg. He's really trying to work hard in that Ford Mustang. He knows there is a big 5th place up for grabs in this one, and they'll head their way through turn number 20 on this circuit. They'll power their way on towards a big red here, and I believe we could potentially be at the final lap. It was just a shame this battle was so entertaining. I didn't have the chance to ask the director where Manduka is on the circuit, but we won't go. Well, he's looking to go down that back, this main straight here, so it might be a little bit of touch and go on this one. So he can afford to back off here. Adrian Manduka can very much afford to back off here. It was just a shame we didn't catch him on the 2-minute mark, because as I said, the lap times around this circuit are about 2:05. Manduka has really been the only driver that can do a 2:04, but you're just seeing there going into some of the tight corner. That blue dot, I believe, is in fact Sean Cassar. Let's have a little bit of a switch to him now. Yet it is, Sean Cassar is right there, and I believe that is, he's about maybe 10 seconds back, 8 seconds back, something along those lines. But Manduka, I think it's just going to maybe go and put this one more lap to go here. He'll head round turn number 20, and yeah, with about what seems like 13 seconds to go, he will in fact go and put himself onto one more lap.
Which means Zimmerman, of course, Martinelli and Nick Ice have got one more lap of racing to consider in this one. Wow. Getting really intense in this battle here with Martinelli. Blue flag's waving out here for Chris Gatt to get out of the way here. Checkered flag is now waving for Adrian Manduka, who will be at now turn 3. So there's still plenty of racing to occur here. Chris Gatt will be told to get out of the way. He doesn't have any legal obligation to get out of the way, but I think it would be advisable that he does at the moment, because this is very strong battling and precisely the wrong place on the circuit for Zimmerman and Nick Ice. He's lost a bucket of time now as the two Lizard Racing team drivers against that Ferrari in P5, as they will now go around and they will get to the start finishing line to start the last lap of this race.
Indeed they will. And again, Nick Ice is really starting to apply some pressure here on his teammate. Is this going to be maybe the time to kind of say to the Lizard Racing team, I am worth something, keep me in this team here, and on towards the big red here. Again, Zimmerman does look like he is struggling. Who's going to get the traction? I think the V10 Lamborghini, I believe it's a rear engine car up against the front engine mounted Ford Mustang. He's not going to make it into there. Don't be silly, Nick Holmberg, on that part. But again, he'll try and get the car rotating. I think that mistake is just going to lead him into a bit of no man's land now, because I think that's going to be his final opportunity of this race done. Meanwhile, Adrian Manduka has been relieved of his championship rival, who wrapped up the title 1 week ago at Watkins Glen. He has had it pretty simple here at COTA, but he'll stamp his authority ahead of season 3. Adrian Manduka rounds the final corner to take the flag and the victory here at the Circuit of the Americas, and a fantastic race here for the Ferrari man, and that was just simply commanding.
Yeah, it's going to be over 10 seconds, I think, between him and Cassar as well. It's been an absolutely blistering race from Manduka, but Cassar finishing in P2, I think, absolutely confirms that Cassar will keep P2 in the standings overall. Denzel Agius are well distance away from everyone else. That undercut was extremely powerful for Cassar as he just trundles across the line, does Agius, and finishes this race across the start-finish line. In fact, he just parks it and then immediately puts it in the pit lane. D'Agostino in the end, great performance from the Pro-Am driver. driver. He's been absolutely fabulous, has the Pro-Am driver, to finish in a very respectable P4. But meanwhile, there's still strong battle happening for Martinelli, Zimmerman and Nick Ice at the moment. Where is this one happening? Zimmerman, Nick Ice in their own little scrap here. Nick Ice trying to go around the outside. In the end, it will be a finishing 5th place for Martinelli from Zimmerman and Nick Ice. Finally, Zimmerman has managed to get that race that he's been so desperate for throughout this race. Here's the other LRT drivers there of Barven, who's trying to get as close as he can to Ericsson, the rookie driver, of course, who is a lap down, so he will finish down in P14, but Barven will finish in P8, and then a double top 10 finish as well from the over 40 club. James Smith finishes in 9th, and this man, Johan Borg, will finish in the P10 to round out the top 10.
Yeah, indeed, and then we'll find the last 2 drivers on this field here. Maya Lafella trying to go up the inside here of Gabriel Quattromani. It goes right to the end, but it looks like Gabriel Quattromani winning out by 0.2 of a second this time around. And what a fantastic finish in all of that. Some superb passing and all that, but again, Adrian Manduka wins for the 3rd time this season, and again it takes the flag. It just seems like there's a running theme of the pole sitter getting the fastest lap and going on to win the race. It has happened, believe it or not, 8 times this season.
Yeah,
we've had 8 rounds.
12 seconds in the end, by the way, between Manduka and Kassar, and then Agius finishing another 12 seconds behind that, so 24 seconds separating the front 3 in the end, which just goes to show how well Manduka performed in this race. But again, the distance between the drivers throughout qualifying equaled basically the distance, and that race result basically shows exactly that. D'Agostino finished 22 seconds behind Agius in the end, but the closest battle, of course, was between P5, 6 and 7. That gap was only separated across each other by around about 2 seconds. Really, really good race between Martinelli, Zimmerman, and Nick Ice. Questions about how Zimmerman managed that race, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But last race of the season, probably just wants to have a little bit of fun. They all did definitely have fun. And what a season of ACER Malta GT3 Championship this certainly has been.
It has been, Ryan Cabot more or less has dominated the season. Once he was off the podium, well, technically twice off the podium, because today he didn't turn up, but he's had 5 wins, 6 podiums. It's been an absolute mighty season from him. Adrian Manduka did not grab second in the end. That went to Sean Kassar. That 2nd place has now put himself and affirmed himself into P2 in the standings, so he'll walk away with a very, very big smile on his face. But looking into season 3, James Otter, do you have some maybe early predictions? Because it's been quite a big entry list. 20 cars have competed this season. We don't see many winners every single season, but could season 3 be a complete change?
Potentially. Karabot definitely had a bit of a stronghold on this particular championship, because the Ford Mustang itself has proved to be quite an OP car within ACC, but his general race pace, if he were to strap everyone in the same car, would probably still put him towards the front anyway. Manduka is going to be the one to keep an eye out on next season, because he has got a point to prove, especially after that horrific race at the Glen. He doesn't want to replicate that kind of thing, and he wants to put himself on the front foot now moving forward. But I'm also going to say keep an eye out on Denzel Agius, because he's already proved within the Asphalt Kings that he's got the pace, and I don't think this season best reflects what Denzel Agius can usually bring to the table. So I do think Denzel Agius is going to be one to keep an eye on as a bit of a dark horse in this one. But Manduka and Karabot is always going to be a bit of a ding-dong between the pair of them.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that all kind of happening in season 3, but you'll have to wait for that as we currently look towards our Velocity Ultimate Masters, which are going to be happening next week about 7 p.m. UK time. But a final big thanks to Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brian Garrett, Levitt Academy and the Specialist, and from myself and James Otter. We will see you in season 3 of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. Take care. Good night.